And we are live. Heaven help us.
Woo!
Woo! Happy New Year's Eve. And we have Mandy McDonald has joined us.
Hey, Mandy, how you doing?
So
Andy.
we've got Joey Mobbs, we have the Schmitz are watching us, and Jim Maberdeen, Jimbo, and Joey.
Hey, fabulous.
Hey, guys.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this
New Year's Eve kind of shindig.
All right, just us having a little bullshit session.
Yeah, just sending out the 2020. Finally,
Oh, yeah,
2021's got to be better.
absolutely.
Although I got to.
Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
yeah, this whole thing came out of 2020 and our need for socialization, in the midst of pandemic.
Yeah, and
So,
I got to say, all things said, 2020 could have been a hell of a lot worse for me personally. Obviously, this is a positive, and look, I have a lot to be thankful for, so I'm going to stick with that. But yeah, I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2020 was certainly a challenging year, both professionally and sanity wise.
Yeah.
But here we are. We made it. We're on the cusp of a new year, new start, new beginning. We'll see if I know we're carrying a bunch of stuff over from 2020 into 2021, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll be a little smarter about it too.
Right. No, and I understand. And my one thankfulness today, and the best part of 2021, Mom had her last chemo treatment today,
Hey,
Hey.
and 2020 could not have ended any better.
Agreed.
agreed.
It could not have. So.
That's awesome. Kicked cancer in the butt.
All right, to Janet Sherman.
Indeed. Cheers.
So what you guys drinking tonight?
Well, I wiped out my bottle of Jura, which isn't saying much. There was just a sliver on the bottom, and I didn't want to go into the new year with that remaining, so I killed that off. And now I'm drinking a little Glenmoe, actually.
Nice.
Yeah,
When
kind of reminiscing.
I finally found it, and so I picked up a bottle of the Famous Grouse. And I've heard you all talk about it and how exciting and how wonderful you guys thought it was. So I figured I'd get a bottle and try that.
So, interesting bit of trivia for you. That is the most popular whiskey in Scotland, period.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep, that is the number one Scotch or whiskey in Scotland.
Yeah, imagine they just call it whiskey.
Yeah.
I
And-
think actually it's the largest seller worldwide.
Mm-hmm. I think
Scotch
it's
whiskey.
I think it's up there, but I know in Scotland alone it is number one.
That's interesting, because I would have thought it would, Johnny Walker, certainly that comes to mind. Things like Glenlivet, Macallan, Dewar's.
Sure.
I thought those would have certainly been up there, but the Famous Grouse, no kidding.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting when I found out about it. Hey, Ron
Absolutely.
Schmitz joined
What you
us.
got going on, Mark?
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Rob.
So, Mark, what are you drinking?
Hey, I am drinking the Cask Strength tonight. I decided to go full bore. Highland Park Cask Strength. Yeah, I've never approached this one kind of without priming the pump first,
Mm-hmm.
but so I decided just to go into it.
How's that going?
It's like running face first into a brick wall, but man, but a tasty brick wall
Oh,
at that.
man, the flavors on that are just amazing. That said, hitting it without priming the pump, I could see where that would be a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah, this is going to go downhill fast. So I'm just gonna...
Sending out 2020 with a bang.
Yeah.
All right, cheers, guys.
Mm.
Oh, man, that is so tasty.
Now, I give them a lot of credit having released that. And, you know, as we discussed before, I really hope that that's a sign of a direction they're going to go. Because, man, that's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I mean, they're doing some really interesting things. They're, you know, of course they have the Viking Honor and the Viking Pride, and you know, in that line. But they've, one that I just picked up was a 16-year,
Oh, nice.
and this one is
Yeah.
the Twisted Tattoo, and this is actually finished in wine casks, and so they call it the Rose Gold. And that'll be one that we're going to have to try, you know, somewhere down the road here. Just sort of the fruitiness of it and what it's going to bring to the table. I'm thinking that's probably something that we're going to hold on till the spring.
Awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's going to be, you know, it looks like it's actually going to be like a lighter whiskey. You know, they're bringing, you know, a lot of flavor to it, and you know, and it's the wine casks in there bring a fruitiness to it that should go well with the spring.
Yeah. Oh, I would think so.
Excellent.
I have to admit, I'm kind of moving in the direction of, well, I've got that port cask with the Kilchoman Snag, and I prefer that over what you generally get with the sherry cask, to be honest with you.
That's
It doesn't have as much funk as what we've seen out of some of the other port finishes, but it's not as overpowering as some of the sherry finishes we've seen. It seems to strike a pretty good middle ground.
Excellent.
yeah, because port is one that I just can't quite get on board with it yet. The port
Yeah,
finish.
there's a
Sure.
musty, funky kind of aspect to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like licking like the inside of a gerbil cage to me. But
The fact that you have a point of reference for that statement is a little concerning.
Yeah, exactly.
makes you kind of wonder, doesn't it?
Were there gerbils in the
It really
cage at the
does.
time?
Possibly. You know, we're just gonna just move past this.
I think that's a very
We're
good
just gonna
idea.
call it a life experience, and something that we're just gonna move past.
Moving on to 2021, where there will be no gerbils. No, spousal unit.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Hopefully. So, what do you guys have on tap for 2021? Do you have any big plans? Any major accomplishments that you have in mind? Or just kind of being able to say 2020 is behind us?
Well, I mean, right now, I mean, we're still kind of locked down and everything too. And so I don't have any big plans other than I think we're going to just try to get past this, and we're going to approach 2021 maybe with a little bit of strategy. We're gonna like maybe lie in ambush, and and if we see 2021 going off the rails, we're gonna pull the chute and bail.
I think that's a damn fine idea. And hi to Jason Toma. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, for me, I'd like to do a little travel if COVID permits it and things aren't locked down. We've talked about exploring some distilleries. There are some local ones I think would be interesting. But again, we're kind of at the mercy of lockdown and what's going on with COVID at the time. But yeah, as far as the whiskey endeavor, the spirited endeavor is concerned, that's on my list of things to do. What about you, Henry?
For sure.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I'm happy the shit show called 2020 is over.
Yep.
That is the biggest thing. 2021. We're working on the girlfriend getting her visa to come over to the U.S.
Awesome.
Nice.
And that all depends on if her country allows her to travel or not.
Yeah.
Because of all the travel bans, because of the pandemic and this, that, and the other thing. And it's taken some time so far, but that's the biggest thing that I have on tap so far.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest hurdle, though, really this last year, besides COVID and you know everything like that, um, has been my credit. And I went from 425. I'm now at 586, and going up.
Good for
And
you, man.
Yeah.
just trying to get my shit together.
Awesome. And hi, Raphael. Thanks for joining us. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
That's a big accomplishment.
So I mean, that's been huge, and that's kind of held me back. And I made some not so good decisions when I was younger, and um, I never realized the ramifications until
I think we've
this
all been
last
there.
year. But you know, in 2021, I've got a better starting point than I did in 2020.
That's
And
awesome.
So all we can do is build on that and go.
That's it, man.
Yeah, onward and upward.
One step at a time.
You know,
Thanks for
Rest, I want to
joining.
kind of circle back.
I just
Yeah, I
wanted
wanted
to
to
say
circle back on the. Go ahead.
we have somebody new joining us. Howard, thanks for joining. Happy New Year.
Hey, Howard.
Sorry for
Happy
interrupting,
New
Mark.
Year's.
Mark, you
Yeah,
were
no
saying?
worries. But I wanted to circle back. Yeah, I wanted to circle back on the travel and us visiting some distilleries.
Mhm.
Now we have a couple that we've found here in Atlanta, AWS, and then what was
Yeah,
this
there
guy
is-
over here? This was Old Fourth Distillery here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are going to be worth a visit. But I mean, we're not all that far from Kentucky.
I agree.
So I think some maybe this summer we're gonna hit the Bourbon Trail.
I think that'd be fun.
And,
Do like a long weekend or something and just kind of go off for a little bit, get away.
Yeah, as long as they're open and doing tours and everything, it might be
Mhm.
worth taking a run around and see how they put the whiskey together.
Absolutely. Well, what
And
we're
that's
ho-
interesting. Go ahead.
we're hoping to be able to put some of these up on Facebook and YouTube as well if we get the opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. And then
And
I think we're going to try to schedule a whiskey tasting with one of our pals
Yep.
over at Johnny McCracken's. So hopefully we can pull that one together too. That'll be fun.
And I think of the bars I've been to in Georgia, they have the best Scotch selection out there. They had some really
yes.
unique stuff.
Yeah, they really did. So yeah, we're gonna have to pull that together too.
Yeah.
Sound like Gary was pretty open to that. So that should be fun. We'll pull that one together if we can.
Yeah, agreed. What were you saying, Hen?
Yeah, we'd certainly like to.
Sorry.
Well, I'm not that far from Kentucky either.
We were thinking that actually.
And found out last weekend we actually have a distillery here in town that does their own moonshine and bourbon. So I was thinking about checking that out, and maybe do an episode there, and
Mm-hmm.
if I'm able to get a hold of the owners or the blender or the name skips my head right now.
The distiller. Yeah.
Distiller, just
Mhm.
try to do an interview with them and find out what they're all about, what their motto are, what they're going for,
Yeah.
what they're trying to accomplish. And I've seen in one of the towns that I work in, I drive to all the time, they're building a distillery out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all these little mom and pop distilleries popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to go in there and talk to them, give them a little bit of, free advertising, so to speak.
Sure.
And, and give them, an opportunity to talk about their product and what they think makes theirs different than everyone else's.
Well, and I think that's something that I want to try and do in 2021 as well, is focus and emphasize local businesses. With everything that's been going on, they've taken a huge hit, whether it's distilleries or
Oh, yeah.
package stores or restaurants or whatever. They're taking a tremendous hit. And I think it's important that we all recognize the businesses that are in our general vicinity and do our best to support them, because if we don't, chances are pretty good that void is not going to get filled by somebody else. Not anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Russ. So,
It is.
ooh, wow.
Cask strength.
Cast strength. Delicious. But
That's
yeah, you're
awesome.
absolutely right. You know, and getting out there and we're all familiar with the big distilleries, the big guys, but I would certainly love to, find some of these smaller guys, what vision that they're trying to bring, what's going to make them unique, and get that out. And I think that's going to be time well spent.
Yeah. Well, I
time
mean,
well spent.
if you look at somebody like ASW in Atlanta, it's just them. It's like 7 employees. They own it. They run it. It's them. You look at most of the scotch we're buying, and the distilleries are owned by conglomerates like Diageo and stuff like that. So they're pretty safe for the most part. Now you got Bruichladdich, and Bruichladdich a separate deal, and you've got some independent distilleries, but the vast majority all fall under a larger organization. So the load is kind of spread. And while I feel for them, and I know that the tariffs that have been placed on Scotland right now are really beating them up, on the other hand, I also want to support small companies like ASW and some of the other locals.
Yeah, for sure. Since they're putting out some amazing products too.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, and I like the idea of buying local.
Mhm.
Let's support local. Yeah.
Well, we're fortunate that
Fabulous.
we have some really good stores around here. You introduced me to a new one just the other day, and of course Turtle Creek's a staple, and they've been fantastic, and they're great to deal with as well.
Yeah, they sure are. And they're knowledgeable, and
Mhm.
they're going to get in there. They're going to talk with you. They're going to say, well, here's what's your flavor palette, and you tell them what you like, and they're like, oh, you like peated scotch, for instance. Well, here, why don't you take a look at these, or if you want to get away from the peated scotch,
Mhm.
or if you want to try something a little different, why don't you go over to this whiskey aisle and here pick up this bottle of Broken Barrel, and they're using Isla casks in it.
Right.
And they're using, and they're peating their own whiskeys here in the United States, which
Yeah.
is really, really fascinating.
We'll take a minute to do some introductions. We have Cheryl here who's watching. Thanks for joining us, Cheryl. Happy New Year. And Jan Sherman is watching. And again, Mom, thanks for joining us, and congratulations on kicking cancer's ass.
You're here.
Happy New Year.
Yep, you get a Ric Flair. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yeah, this definitely deserves a woo.
Wow, that was very understated there, Russ.
That's just
All
the
right.
kind of guy that I am.
That was like Tarzan-like.
Pink bunny suit and all. I am definitely understated. I am the definition of smooth.
With the O's removed. Yeah.
Yes, that's a sniff.
Smith. So what's everybody out there drinking tonight?
Yeah, Ron, what are you guys drinking? What's anybody drinking? I imagine there's a lot of champagne going around, I would think.
I would think so. Yeah. If there was a year for champagne, or if there was a day for it, it is today.
Oh, you got that right.
Oh yeah, we made it,
Now,
folks.
I will say this. The other day I made old fashioned, and I had the Shackleton Expedition Scotch and the Glengoyne.
Mm-hmm.
They both actually make a really fantastic.
I can see that.
Um,
Well, it's got to be better than
I know
Lefroy.
you.
Oh yeah. Do not. Yeah.
See, that one
Shy
I
away
was-
from the
I mean-
Lefroy with old fashioned.
You're braver than I am, because that's not a direction I would have even gone down. So, hats off to you, or toilet bowl lid up. I don't know. But no, there. I know you didn't like the Shackleton Expedition Scotch, Mark. I know you weren't really that impressed with it. But if you're looking for something to do with it besides regifting it to someone, um, old fashions are that would be.
Sorry,
Oh,
that's we have somebody in our group that's watching that's drinking Bunnahabhain 12, and I was just thinking, based on your conversation, that would probably be really good in an old fashioned.
Yeah, probably so.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about using that Shackleton to polish some brass.
You could do that as well.
Yeah, I think
It's
I think
whatever
it's
you
worthy
want-
to do that.
It's whatever you want to do with it, kind sir.
I think you found a good use for it, though. An old fashioned is perfect. That way you can't taste
Yeah, I
it.
think
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
My
I
bad.
do not think that whiskey should be taken internally.
Yeah. It's I guess my thing with it was that it didn't live up to what I had built up for my expectations. But again, does it represent what blends were at that point in time? Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And let's be straight, I'm not shitting on it, other than the fact I'm completely shitting on it.
Just a little.
Just yeah, but
A mini deuce.
Just a smidge.
It's funny
But
though.
I'm just saying.
You're just saying. I'm not saying,
Right.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
Just saying.
Well,
But no,
we-
I mean, I'm just like, there is another purpose there. I mean, I built it up in my head, and personally, I thought it was good. The one aspect of it that got me, and I thought it was really unique compared to other Scotch that I've tasted, is it had that licorice, at least to me, on the back end in my palate was licorice. And who doesn't like black licorice?
A lot of people. I'm not one of
Yeah.
them. I enjoy it personally, but there are a lot of people, mainly everybody else in my house, that don't enjoy black licorice, hence I'm lucky.
See, but then you get all of it to yourself,
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
black
there's that.
licorice and squirrel livers.
and you get all the black jelly beans come Easter.
Yeah.
And there's that.
I do need to interrupt for a PSA. Jason Toma is drinking Lafroig 10.
Ooh.
Go,
Excellent
Jason.
choice.
Please, for the love of God, don't make an old fashioned with that. It's horrendous,
Do not.
but it's tasty by itself. Good on you, man. Ron Schmidt is probably going to have some naked grouse tonight. Always a good choice. And we
Excellent.
have Jim and Lucy Oldham are drinking Bunnahabhain 12, which, again, always a good choice. And probably would go very nicely in an old fashioned. And Mom is.
Old fashioned whiskey sour, Godfather.
Oh,
you
man.
name it. Oh man, we're gonna have to do Godfathers one night.
I think that's a good idea. Actually, I
that's
haven't
a
had
good
one of
idea.
those in at least 5 years, I would guess.
Ooh, yeah.
It's been
We
a
have to
minute.
maybe find the right. We have to find the right Scotch to go into into a Godfather.
Well, I think we have lots
I think
to.
we have a
We have a
a
lot of
selection.
ones to try out.
we have a
Did
wee
you guys-
selection.
Did you guys get that recipe that I sent you for the Highland Tempest?
Yes.
I did. Yeah,
That
I did,
just
that-
sounds interesting.
it does sound interesting. That may be one that we have to play with.
Yeah, because I mean, Scotch, ginger beer, like
I could see that going really really well together. Ginger beer with Scotch, fabulous.
Oh yeah.
The spiciness from the ginger beer with the
Yeah.
with the smoothness of the Scotch, and I think that would be fantastic.
That could be
I think you need a
interesting.
Right.
smooth Scotch for that.
Yeah, agreed.
I'll be right back. I
think-
have to go grab another glass real quick.
Okay, I think you would need like a Glenmorangie or something to go
Yeah.
with that,
Some-
because you're going to want something that's the the shortbread cookie.
Agreed. Yeah, a Lafroig is not going to cut it.
Exactly.
Anything with those spiky edges or whatever is just, yeah, I don't see that working well.
Yeah, I don't see that working. But I mean, who knows?
Well, the
We're gonna try
Auchentoshan
to.
could probably go well. A Glenlivet, a Glenmoe. I don't know how it would do with a a sherry cask.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Here we go.
Dun 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 dun.
Ah,
Ooh.
there you go.
Now I'm
Double
curious.
rye.
Curious to see what you think of
High
this.
West. You know, we haven't found anything from High West that just wasn't just mind blowing.
Agreed.
That Rendezvous Rye is still is one of my top in my top 10 favorite whiskeys.
Yep. Well, it's a
And I
good
was telling Russ
combination.
earlier.
Hmm?
Go ahead, Henry.
I was telling Russ earlier, I love the bottle. It is so unique. It's got all these impurities in it. Either that or they put a bunch of glitter in the glass. I don't know which one right now. But, I mean, it's just a very exquisite bottle just because of that. And it just, to me, it looks like just impurities in the glass and everything like that.
So
It looks old timey.
it comes with
I
stripper
mean, it
glitter.
looks like it came out of 1880, Old West. It really does have that feel to it.
Yeah. And it's a solid whiskey. Now,
It really is.
something that I came across tonight because I was curious. Now, I've got the Bruichladdich Isla Barley, which, good Lord, that's just amazing. And the Port Charlotte that I just picked up. Both of those, the corks were a bit dry. Now, of course, that means they've been sitting on the shelf a while. They hadn't been tipped around, so on and so forth. And I found little bits of cork on the neck. And when I poured some, I got little bits of cork in my glass. So, of course, we've all heard that you're not supposed to ingest cork. It's bad for you, so on and so forth. So I did some research. Cork in and of itself is not necessarily bad for you unless you choose to eat the entire thing.
I see. So if you get a little bit of cork, that's all right.
No harm, no foul.
Okay, good to know.
And I was drinking it last night, and I'm drinking it tonight. So if I keel over in a couple minutes, we'll blame the cork.
All right, very good.
Yeah, but I
Very
thought
good.
that was
Or you
interesting.
might not. Or you might not be able to poop for like 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah, you might be stopped up. Yeah.
That
Corked up, so to speak.
that is rarely a problem for me.
All right.
Man,
Taboo.
I gotta say,
Yeah, that was something I was always concerned about because
Well-
I've heard things like cork will continue to swell and grow, and
I've heard
cause
that as well,
blockages.
and that's why I researched the living daylights out of it. And yeah, the general consensus in the medical community is unless you choose to eat an entire cork, you're going to be just fine.
okay.
If you
Good to
eat the
know.
entire cork, you get what you deserve.
All right.
But
And your bum will make this sound.
yeah,
That is
well,
spicy.
I've got to say, since this is, if you can find it, pick one of these up. Good Lord,
Oh,
what a
yeah.
good whiskey. I
It
mean,
really is.
Bruichladdich as a whole, but damn, I know I'm pimping them left and right, but they deserve it.
Well, they deserve it. I mean, if we're looking at something like Bruichladdich, if we're looking at Jura, we're looking at Compass Box. I mean, these people are putting artwork in a bottle,
Yeah.
and they are really, really worth exploring. And we've talked about it a few times here, especially with the Bruichladdich, is that they're really, really celebrating the harvest, the grain.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had a couple of these things, and I think we kind of unlocked something here when we tried the Bruichladdich, and what they're putting out, they're telling you what farm it's coming from. You're finding out all the different components of that whiskey. You're drinking it, and you're getting that you're getting that maltiness. You're getting that the barley notes. And it's like all of the rest of that is the supporting players to the grain that they're making it with.
Yep.
It's like here's a celebration of this harvest and this grain, and I think that's fascinating.
Well, and the fact that they have the date, so 2011, you have the 2010, and then each year progressively they have the year on there, and that's because the crop each year varies, and the taste that you get from that barley, from that crop, varies year by year. They may have a drought one year, which I think was the case with yours, and then a bunch of
Yes.
rain towards the tail end, and as a result, the flavor's a little bit different than what I've got in this bottle. But what's interesting is you know, if you start with this, as we've discussed before, and then move on to any of the others, like the Classic Laddie or even the Port Charlotte, you start picking that up as kind of the theme throughout all of them. And each one of them is just a little variation on that.
Absolutely. And, you know, and we look at like Glenmorangie, we look at some of the larger distilleries, and they take great pains to make all of them taste the same.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get a bottle of Glenmorangie, it is going to taste like Glenmorangie, no matter the year, no matter that, you know, they're always tweaking the recipe in order to maintain a very specific flavor profile.
Right.
And then Brooklady comes along and said, screw that.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to do this year. It's going to have this grain in it. And this is the only time that this is going to happen. And then we move on to the next year, and we're going to give you something new.
They embrace the natural variety that occurs with the product.
Absolutely.
Right. And honestly, I wish. Now, going back to a point that you made earlier, yes, there are a lot of distilleries that are owned by conglomerates, and they want that natural product that people know, love, enjoy, and it's going to always be the same from the first time you have it to the last time you have it. And that's what I love about Brooklady is like, it's always different every bottle you have.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Always just a tad different.
There's something to be said for that. You know, if you go for a Glenmorangie, you want the same experience each time. And that's why you have color added. That's why you have chill filtration, is so you can have a consistent product. And when you're putting out the volume that they put out, having that consistency becomes a little bit easier than it is for a smaller volume distillery like Bruichladdich.
But the thing is look at the history of Bruichladdich and how many times that distillery shut down, reopened, and they have casks that have just stayed there. And can you imagine going, okay, I'm going to buy a distillery, and you go to your warehouse and you have casks of whiskey that are 60 years old, just there.
Yeah.
You know, and they have a lot to choose from. And the gentleman that bought, I forget his name right off the top of my head, but he took great pains, and he left some really good paying jobs to reopen a defunct distillery. And he's done amazing.
Well, let me ask you a question. We all have Bruichladdich. How many of the Bruichladdich that we own have age statements on them?
One.
One for me.
One. Yeah.
That's this one. It's a 10-year. That is the only Bruichladdich out of
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
ones.
It's my tenure.
Yeah, that's it.
You know.
So
I mean, we know that. Yeah, and we know that with Scotch. I mean, there has to be aged for 4 years. But that's it. But you don't need an age statement on it.
But the age statement, if you put an age statement on there, it has to be the age of the youngest whiskey in that bottle. So when you buy a single malt, you're buying casks, multiple casks. Some of them are 10 years old, some of them are 4 years old, some of them are 20 years old. They blend them together to get the flavor that they want. So a non-age statement like the Classic Laddie may have some 20-year-old whiskey in there from those casks that you're talking about.
Right.
Because a non-age statement, again, they're doing that because they have to put the year or the age of the youngest whiskey. So in that case, okay, well, 4 years of age. Meanwhile, I've got 20-year-old Scotch in there.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. You know, and that's kind of mind blowing too.
Well, and that's
what they're, and it's really an important job to mix these correctly or to find the taste profile that you're aiming for. So that's just amazing, the artwork and the care and diligence that go into this.
Master distillers are very well respected in the industry. You don't see them bounce around very often, and once they've established themselves, that name is gold even at potential or competitor distilleries.
True. But, and the thing is I thought about it and it was like, they could have opened up a 30-year-old cask of scotch and said, I like this one flavor profile out of it. Everything else tastes like dirty buzz. Let's go ahead and mix it and find some other flavors to put in there. And, who knows the thought process behind mixing it.
Hmm.
But there was that one flavor profile to that specific cask
Yeah.
that stood out to somebody.
Sure. Well, it's the quality of the staves used in that cask, how much oils from the wood are embedded in there, how much of that gets pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, a lot of them are used previously. What was it used for? What did that do to the wood? But I mean, to me, there is no appeal to letting whiskey sit in a cask for 20 years. Because I generally don't like what casks do over a longer term. We've had plenty of older whiskeys, and what we found is you're not getting what you expect. You don't get a really old whiskey that's got a whole lot of oak influence or, oak spice or anything like that. What you find is they blend it in such a way with sherry casks and stuff like that to impart different flavors. But I mean, like I said, if think about what happens to that whiskey when you let it sit in oak for that length of time, you're losing a lot of alcohol, which, yeah, it's going to be smooth, but your ABV drops dramatically over 20 years. And then on top of it, you're imparting all of these tannins, which leaves a very dry feeling in the mouth, and a lot of oak spice.
Yeah, and we've noticed that with some of the older whiskeys that they do have that dryness to them, that
Yeah.
little tannic, those tannins in there.
Right.
And it's like, did you leave it in here just a little too long,
Right.
or is this what you're going for, or is this just a point where you think that this was, you're pulling it just before it becomes, something unpalatable.
But if you do a non-age statement, now you take just a small quantity of that and you mix it in with something younger that has better oils,
Exactly.
doesn't have all those tannins, and now you get a happy medium. You get that punch and freshness that goes with a younger whiskey, and then you get that kind of maturity, that mellow aspect that goes with an older whiskey, but you kind of get rid of some of the tannins and some of the harsh aspects.
I'm going to say this High West, vanilla bomb right up
Oh,
front, and then goes spicy.
Dude.
It goes spicy right
Yeah,
down
that's-
to my toes.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
a
but
rye,
that's
man.
a rye. That's a rye.
Woo!
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to have those floral notes. It's going to have like an herbal quality to it. Yeah, it's spicy, but it's going to be very vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
The vanilla is
I
just
mean-
amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
finding I really adore rye.
I do too, actually. I prefer rye over just like a bourbon. I
do,
like that
yeah.
punch, and maybe it's because I like Scotch, because I like some of the different punch that you get out of a Scotch. But for whatever reason, I'm
Right.
drawn to a rye.
Yeah, I am too. Probably similar reasons. I like the spiciness of it. I like the vanilla aspects of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the bourbon.
Wow.
I'm learning to appreciate it, but I don't think it's ever going to be a love of mine.
Same here. I think the barrel influence is just too much with bourbon, for me
Yeah,
personally.
I think so. Yeah, it's very, very barrel spice. A lot of barrel spice in that.
Yeah.
Right. But wow, thank you for mentioning this to me. I mean, wow.
Yeah, the Rendezvous Rye is pretty spectacular. There's one out there called Campfire that that's high on my to-do list. I'll have to find that at some point. Yeah, but anything that I'm finding from High West, and thank you, Scott Cunningham, for that.
Yeah. Good on you,
Namaste.
Scott.
Oh
Yeah, thank
man,
you.
you really pointed us in an interesting direction there.
Yeah. No, I agree.
They had another one there at the store, and it wasn't a rye whiskey, and I forget. I think it was a bourbon they had. And I'm like you guys, I'm not very high on bourbon. It's not one of those go-to beverages for me, so I kind of shied away from it. But the rye, I went with.
Well, we talked about it before. You know, one of the easier bourbons out there would be Angel's Envy because they do impart, they use port casks, I think, with their bourbon, and I don't remember what they're using with their rye. Um, so they'll
Okay.
age them as required for it to be considered bourbon, and then they'll recask it
Okay.
in export casks to impart flavor. And what that does is it adds just a little bit of sweetness that tends to tamp down that barrel spice that you normally associate with bourbon. So you get all the bourbon flavors, but don't get so much of that kick from the barrel.
Mm.
Okay.
Now we've picked up some bourbons too that are bottled in bond,
Mm.
and this is going to be an upcoming show that we're going to sit down and taste a few of these. And these are single barrel whiskeys, so they're aged in only one barrel. They're bonded, so they live in a government warehouse for I think it's 5 years. They have to have a 50% ABV,
Mm-hmm.
and they're something pretty special. So I had tried one yesterday, and this was the one from Atlanta. This is the old Fourth Distillery,
Mm-hmm.
and man, what a tasty whiskey this was.
Really?
It was very vanilla, had a lot of spice to it,
Yep.
and it's kind of interesting to see something that comes from like one single barrel and what that brings to it.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to try a couple of these things out to see, if they have a similar flavor profile, or this is something that each one will bring something unique to the table.
That's a good question. Now, do they mention what the percentages are as far as the grain types? Because I think it only has to be a minimum of 51% corn.
Yeah, 51% corn. Let's see. Okay, aged a minimum of 4 years, bottled at 100 proof, aged in white American oak, and produced in the United States, and nothing added but water. And they're aged in a federally bonded warehouse under U.S. government supervision.
That's just
So
wild.
nothing could go
Now-
wrong there.
Yeah, right.
Made in a single distillery in a single season.
Now let
And
me ask
those
you
are
a
the rules
question.
for it.
I'm sorry?
Do they give any reason why it has to be put into a federally guarded warehouse?
Well, that goes.
Oh,
Well,
the
for
reason
for
that
this
is.
particular whiskey, that's the rules for the bottled and bond. So I'll be curious to see how that kind of stacks up against a bourbon not bottled in bond, and then I would like to see some of those bottled in bonds and how they stack up against each other.
Yeah.
And we've got a few
But
of them
that's
here
what I'm
now.
asking is why
So,
are they doing it? What's the purpose behind it? Because I don't know.
well, the U.S. was really, if not the first, one of the first countries to adopt food and beverage standards. So the
Okay.
rules that you hear when it comes to Scotch, we actually had rules that were stricter than them first.
Okay.
Now they also used to issue whiskey to U.S. government troops way back in the day.
Correct.
So I'm wondering, and I've got to do some research on this and see what the history of that was. If that has something to do with, having a certain set of standards that they release these things to, for any particular reason. Maybe there's a historical reason for it. And I haven't dived that far into it yet to understand.
What I've come up with on just a a very basic search was that it's because people are basically cutting the whiskey to make more money. So they distill the whiskey and then they just cut it with absolute garbage, a lot of which was really harmful to people, to turn more profit. And at some point, the
Okay.
larger distilleries got together and said, hey, look, this isn't right. And the federal government stepped in and said, okay, look, we're going to do this.
We're gonna cut it with strychnine. Delicious.
Stranger things.
Yeah.
But I mean, that goes.
So who makes it? So
There's
whatever.
there's a lot of really interesting history when it comes to whiskey in America, though, and I mean, fortunately, a lot of that is based off of what happened in Scotland. It's Scots that came over to the United States that started distilling whiskey, and like we were talking about before, the reason bourbon's called bourbon is because of Bourbon Street in New Orleans. They'd ship the stuff down the river. Some guy that was from France was living down there in Bourbon Street and decided, you know what, I'm going to cask this. And
That's
there
pretty
you go.
interesting. And they would use whatever grain they had on hand, whether it was rye or wheat or corn or
Sure.
Right.
or barley, and then they would make the whiskey on what they grew.
Yeah, well, in most cases, it was a way for them to take care of any excess harvest to where they could profit from it.
Absolutely.
Or
Why
store
not?
it. Yeah. So, Ron,
Yeah, I think I'm going to start growing barley in my backyard.
I like the idea because, boy,
Sure.
I do like barley. That
I
said,
do
I wouldn't
too.
mind some rye next to it. That'd be an interesting mix.
I'm sure it's been done. We may have to find that.
I think, yeah, I would have to test that
Yeah.
out.
It would be
The really strong vanilla, and then you get that malt aspect, and then, of course, the spices.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's instead of being like single malt, it'd be like a multi grain. I'm sure.
Well-
I know we've seen that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at blended whiskey
A blended
from
malt, a
Scotland,
blended
is
grain.
just that. They
Yeah.
don't specify a grain. It doesn't have to be from this. It doesn't have to be the same grain. Doesn't have to be from the same distillery.
Right.
Exactly.
But I mean, here in the U.S., it's quite a bit easier as long as we don't call it bourbon. You can call
Yeah,
it
very
American
true.
whiskey.
Yeah, my cast strength is getting to me. Finally. Thank God.
That is tasty, though.
You were saying Ron Schmidt.
Yeah, he's recommending brandy being used in an old fashioned. And actually, I wouldn't mind picking up some brandy anyhow.
Yeah, that would work. Brandy's got a nice sweetness to it.
Mhm.
I think it would lend
Yeah.
itself well to an old fashioned.
Mm.
In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw a recipe for a brandy old fashioned.
I could see that. That would be interesting. Yeah, like I said, it'd be nice to just have some brandy for when we do finally get some colder days around here. For more than a day or two.
Colder days.
We were colder than you guys for a little bit. Very little bit.
For a little bit, but we have snow and then we're expecting ice
Mm-hmm.
tonight.
Nice.
Okay, Ron Schmidt keeps saying VSOP. What the hell is VSOP? VSOP.
Stop. It's a brandy. It's a brandy.
Oh, really?
Type of brandy.
Yeah, never heard of it.
He feels strongly about it. He
Okay.
used not one exclamation point, but two.
Ooh,
Whoa.
So that is a
Man,
very
that's,
strong recommendation.
that is a ringing endorsement.
I would say so.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
not
if he goes
really,
for three,
because- Because you know me, if you ever see my text messages, either two exclamation points, two question marks, two emoji faces, two. It's always in twos for some reason.
Yeah, but this is in caps too.
Oh, well,
Ooh.
there's that. So, well,
All right, then,
that is strong language, sir.
But you're familiar with
Strong
this.
language.
Oh.
yeah, he's obviously shouting it to us.
Oh, okay. Jim and Lucy Oldham just clarified that. Interesting. Okay. I might have to see about finding that. Henry, you seem familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's down around here. It's up here all the time. I can get.
I might have to check that out.
It's actually not that bad at all.
But we certainly want to know what everyone's drinking, and and we love suggestions.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
Hey,
Well, I don't
they
have.
may not be drinking whiskey, but whatever they're drinking, fine.
Well, it's
Except
always
tequila.
it's
We
always
don't do
interesting to
tequila.
learn.
Yeah. I had a tequila night once, and I'm forever sworn off of tequila.
I enjoy tequila, however, that does not always end well. And it's only certain tequilas.
Yep. Yeah, I woke up underneath a bathroom sink, so yeah, no more tequila.
And Josh Metz has joined us. Thanks for joining us, Josh. Happy New Year.
Hey, Josh.
And
Happy New Year.
Screw 2020.
Happy New Year. And do you remember Thanksgiving about 7 years ago when everybody was up here? And I passed out in the front yard, tequila and snow.
Nice.
The one that doesn't interest me anymore,
My ex-wife is my ex-wife.
back in the day I used to be all about vodka. It does nothing for me now. Nothing at
There's
all.
no flavor. Well, I guess that's the thing. There's no flavor to it. And people might disagree with me on that one. And that's fine. But do you really need a marshmallow flavored vodka? If you got
Somebody does.
For fucking what?
I don't know.
And I don't
I
even
mean,
want to know. I don't want to know.
I would totally use that with a bowl of Fruit Loops.
It went up in my mouth. Hold on a minute. Damn.
That I
Oh
will
my
say,
God, that is so gross.
it.
Bailey's and Fruit Loops, man, magic combination.
Oh God. Oh man, that sounds horrible. But you know, a lot of what we used to do with vodka back in the day is now available in the bottle. I mean,
That
because
is
let's be
absolutely
honest,
true.
we did some pretty crazy stuff with clear alcohols.
We
That's
did.
true.
I mean, we
But I never put peanut butter in the clear alcohol. You go, you know what? This is going to be bomb.
That's only because we didn't have peanut butter.
Oh, that is true.
That's true. But we didn't
Yeah, we
always
get some
have
peanut butter.
Well,
Well, I'm telling you what, man, a little peanut butter vodka, a little bit of chocolate liqueur, man. You got a Reese's in a glass.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go. So Josh Metz is saying Jaeger always ends badly for him. I think that ends badly for everybody. Susan
Yeah.
Wagner
Yeah.
is watching us. Thanks for joining us, Susan. And
thank you.
Ron says, yeah, I don't do tequila or Di Serono. And yes, there is a story that involves a tent. God, I hope you were camping.
Oh, God dang.
Boom.
Just, yep. Moving right along.
Yeah.
And yeah, what I shy away from now is anything rum. So I used to, yeah. I mean, way back in the day, I mean, Captain Morgan was kind of my thing.
Yeah.
It was
Mix a little bit of pineapple juice and
Uh-huh.
some cranberry and pineapple juice. We had a little mixed drink that we used to like.
Yeah.
I can't even smell it anymore. So so Bacardi, Captain Morgan's, and not that I'm shitting on anyone that's still drinking that. That's
No.
not the case at all. But I mean, my
We just-
palate has moved beyond that.
Well, we did some really foolish things with those back in the day, which I think may kind of move you in a different direction.
Totally.
Now, I forget who it was, but I remember it was one of our friends, and I forget who, was doing a flaming shot of 151 and went to cap it and didn't cap it, went to drink it, and ended up
Oh,
all over the side of their face.
I can see
I'm sure
that.
that was you. Yeah, I'm sure that was you, Henry.
No, it wasn't me.
I'm sure it was.
No, I did set my right arm on fire. There was that, and I'll give you that one.
Well, I blew myself up in the backyard once, so I mean, it happens.
What didn't happen in the
Hell, you
backyard?
blew me up at the pond when we were kids.
Lincoln
You throw
log
5 gallons
cannons
of gas
and
on a fire and give me a bic, and I'm like, nah. And I'm like, hell yes, son, let's go. It's a fire. I still don't have eyebrows to this day because of it.
dude, there were people.
No need to
I
thank
think
me,
I got
man.
3 eyebrow hairs.
No need to thank me.
There were Lincoln log
Oh, oh.
cannons and people in gorilla suits. This
There-
is the
there were
quality of
the-
the parties that used to happen based on the alcohol that you just
no.
described.
And
No,
there was a night certainly that there was some alcohol imbibed, and there may have been some people running up the street in their boxers waving
the
American
American
flag.
flag.
That may have happened.
Yeah.
That may have happened
America.
From what I've heard. From what I've heard.
allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I have a question though. That
Yes.
I know. Did you get the idea when you were younger, drinking what we were just describing, that beverages like scotch and whatnot were the ones that were going to give you the hangover?
I did.
That was
kinda
always the
shied
misconception. The misconception.
It was. Yeah, I was always concerned that, scotch or whiskey and everything would give me the hangover. But it turns out it was all the sugary alcohol drinks and everything that would actually give me the hangover.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people
Since I've
used
been
to
drinking
avoid it.
this. Yeah, and since I've been drinking this,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had some nights where there may have been one too many. We always drink responsibly
Mm-hmm.
ish.
Ish.
But I've
Right,
never
no.
woken up with a hangover. In fact, if anything, I've woken up refreshed.
Yeah.
And I'll have to agree with that.
Jim and Lucy Oldham bring up a really good point, though. They were too expensive. I mean,
True.
he's kind of right.
He's kinda right, yeah.
He makes a good point.
Yeah, when you're younger, you're going for quantity, not exactly quality.
I kind of have to cop to that.
This is very true.
Exactly. Yeah, there was a few cases of Milwaukee's Best, drank.
Oh
in the
God, yeah.
day. Yeah.
And but see what's odd about that is Milwaukee's Best. I never got a hangover from that, ever.
From what? Beast?
From
Milwaukee's
Milwaukee's Best.
Best. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm.
From the Beast.
From the Beast.
I never got a hangover from it, ever.
I think Natty Ice was probably one of the worst ones I've ever had, and it took a bunch to get there. And I do mean a bunch. But God, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
horrible. That's, for me, if I drink Budweiser, I get a headache after maybe halfway through the first beer. Something about it just doesn't work with me, and Natty does the same thing. I didn't figure that out until I was quite a few in.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, and beer is something I drink in moderation these days. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a something I drink a lot. We had a couple with lunch today, and
Mm-hmm.
that was fantastic, and that tasted great. Probably be months before I do that
Yeah,
again.
same here. Well, there are certain foods that I want a beer with. We were talking about that. Hot wings, I want a beer. A scotch just does not go well with hot wings, in my opinion. Corned beef and cabbage, I mean, really? There's certain things that you
If
have
you're not
to
drinking
drink.
Guinness, yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And
I'll be
maybe
right back in a minute, guys.
on a hot day, okay. Hot day when you're mowing the lawn or whatever, or after mowing the lawn, a beer sounds pretty good. Aside from that, yeah, I've kind of moved on from it.
Yeah. It's amazing how our tastes have evolved over the years,
Yeah.
and that's pretty interesting.
Well, and I was pretty heavy into the going for the different stouts and the IPAs and whatnot, and I still enjoy them, don't get me wrong, but really I'd prefer a whiskey.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of to that stage now too, where it's whiskey is going to it's going to be whiskey.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be scotch. Or anything else, and that was just kind of an evolution of where I am. But I don't see it, deviating from that anymore. I think
Yeah.
I've settled in on it.
Well, and it's like we've talked about before. I've had some fantastic beers, some craft beers that are local for that matter, really good ones. But like we discussed previously, each sip is the same. Each bottle is the same. With the whiskey, your first sip out of a dram is going to be a little different than the second one and the third one and so on and so forth, just because the oxygen affecting it coming to room temperature or whatever. It's a bit of a different experience, I think.
True. Do our friends have anything going on there?
Yeah, so Ron was just saying, Ron says, drink Wisconsibly, Wisconsin.
Nice.
That's, yeah.
Nice.
And then he says, talking about beer, I typically drink Old Style or Leinenkugel. Now, Leinenkugel I know of.
Oh,
Leinie.
yeah.
Now, Old Style I've not heard of. I wonder if that's a regional thing. Not one I've come across, but Leinenkugel we get around here, and some of it's actually pretty good. They've got a couple of them that were a little off. I think they did some, if I'm thinking of the right folks, they did a black and tan, or tried to do a black and tan, and it's a black and tan. It's just not fantastic, but it's convenient that it's in the bottle.
Yeah, it's in the one can. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
but
the one bottle. Yeah.
the general Leinenkugel, I know I've had that several times and thought it was pretty good. But again, if you can shed a little light on the Old Style, that would be appreciated. Nope, Henry's back. Wow, what do you have in that cup, Henry?
Sorry?
What do you have in that cup?
Hello? Water.
Oh, okay. Thought you were mixing.
No, I had to get some more water. I don't think that rye I'd want to mix with anything. Well, maybe jet fuel. There might be that.
Well,
But
Our-
no, that
our experience with rye was that it worked really well in an old fashioned. And I mean really well.
Really well. Yeah.
And you
That
put
was
that,
my favorite old fashioned.
agreed. And I think if you put that on ice, that works nicely.
Yeah. I mean, rye is. I mean, it's almost made for an old fashioned.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll
with the
have to
spice
try
of that would played really well with the orange, and although we didn't really muddle our fruit in that as much.
Yeah, there wasn't much in the way of muddling.
Yeah, we didn't muddle. We're not muddlers to any degree.
don't muddle with
It was
that.
a muddle-free zone.
It was a muddle free zone.
But what I liked about it was the vanilla aspect of it played really nicely with everything else, and the rye spice kind of got brought down by the other ingredients, so it ended up being really tasty.
Yeah, it was like the most like a like an orange creamsicle.
Yeah, yep, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah, that
See,
was
the one
not
thing is-
unwelcome.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading the bottle of bitters that I got. And that's 35% A, that's 35 ATV in the bitters alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And I didn't even have to show my ID to buy it. Which I thought was completely weird because
Well, think of it this
it's a
way. I mean, you
cocktail
don't.
mixer.
Well, think of it this way. You don't buy. You don't have to. You're not carded when you buy vanilla extract.
Well, true.
True.
You know, all of that is made with alcohol.
Yeah.
This is true. I didn't put it that way, but I was just like, and I get it, the cocktail mixer and everything like that, and I can't see anybody drinking a bottle of bitters to
Yeah.
get messed up. I mean, I have seen people drinking bottles of mouthwash before.
Clearly, you've forgotten a lot of your youth, Henry. I wouldn't have put that past any of us.
Yeah, no, I would have been doing
Seriously? You remember who you are, right? So, okay, we've got some
Yeah.
we've got some clarification here. Old Style is made by Hellman's, I believe it is regional. And
Mayonnaise, yeah.
Jim Oldham says Old Style's like Old Milwaukee or the older 90s Milwaukee's Best, the Beast.
Nice.
Light crisp American beer. It used to be available in Atlanta. Interesting. Ron says
Yeah,
same
I don't
guys
think
as
I've ever seen
PBR basically, which I am familiar with PBR, no doubt. Matter of fact, summertime, mowing the lawn, PBR is a good thing.
Yeah, I
PBR is
usually
the
keep
best.
a case of PBR in my fridge.
And fairly low in carbs, actually.
Yeah.
And it goes down real quick and easy on a hot day.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
isn't that Amy's favorite beer?
I'm sorry?
Isn't PBR Amy's favorite? I know she used to like it a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah, she likes PBR. So the funny thing was, Taco Mac around here has a beer club. And you get a card, and part of the whole thing of being
Okay.
in the beer club is they have apparently the largest beer selection out of any bar. And you have to go through every beer they have. Period. All of them.
Ooh.
The crappy ones,
All of them.
the really good ones. So what generally happens is when you join the Taco Mac Beer Club, you start off going through some really fantastic beers. You go through the chocolate stouts and you go through some IPAs, and then by the time you're getting like 3/4 of the way through, it's like PBR, Budweiser, Bud Light, so on and so forth. So that was the first time I ever tried PBR in my life, and I was in my 40s.
Really?
I'd never had PBR before that.
Wow.
And I was expecting horrible things, and it was not bad. And from that point forward, I keep PBR on hand. And Amy, for whatever reason, also likes PBR.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
it's very inoffensive.
It really is.
Well,
And that's a very nice way of putting that.
Yeah.
it was funny because when I lived in Tennessee, and I don't know what it is about childhood memories, but I always remember Schlitz for some reason. And I don't know whether it was commercials or what it was, but apparently they stopped producing it. And I remember hanging out with some friends who were younger, and the old pop top.
Oh.
And they said that, hey, we're gonna start reproducing Schlitz again. And it just brought me back to that one moment in my life. And I was like, this is going to be fantastic. And I bought a 6-pack of it. And it was 9 kinds of ass.
So I've got to ask
I
you,
was like,
let me ask you a question. Did you drink it?
oh, I did.
Okay, so
Oh, I
have,
did.
have you ever bought one that was so bad you couldn't drink it? Like, you went out, you bought a 6-pack, you had the first one, you took a sip, and you threw the rest out.
I have one.
I do too.
Yeah, the Mickey's Big Mouth.
Oh, I don't think I've done that one.
No, don't ever do that one because it's not beer, it's a malt beverage. For me, it would be Colt 45 because I had to try it
Mm-hmm.
because Billy D. Williams.
Red Dog.
She not at that point in time.
Red Dog.
Really?
Yep.
Red Dog. Yep.
They had a 6-pack at the corner gas station, the one that you always used to hit when you lived out this way. And they had
Okay.
that for like $3 for a
yeah.
6-pack.
Oh.
Ooh, warning.
Ooh.
And I was in there,
Ooh.
I was like, all right, what the hell? It's beer. How bad can it be? Little did I know.
$3 for a 6-pack.
It could be bad.
Yeah. I don't remember how I got rid of the rest of it, but I didn't make it through the first can.
The
See,
thing
Red
is,
Dog when it first came out was actually really, really good. And it was way, way more than $3 for a 6-pack. So that makes me think that was old.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know it was absolutely horrendous.
But the thing about Red Dog is if you take the beer cap off, turn it upside down, put the top of your thumb on it, you get a definitely different impression on the bottle cap than anything else.
I don't think I'll be figuring that one out anytime soon.
I don't think so
It's
either.
it's a family show, so I'm not going to say.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we've got a couple of comments here. Ron Schmidt says Schlitz is back, and his buddy has a Schlitzmobile lawnmower.
Oh God, no!
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Ron, pictures or it didn't happen. We've got to see this.
Right, for real.
And Jim Oldham says Lone Star, you could get a case for $4 in the mid '80s. And Lone Star, that rings a bell for some reason, and it's not a very positive bell that it
Army.
rings. Lone Star.
Yeah, I think that was something when I was in the military.
Army.
It sort of rings back to those days.
Yeah,
As
Gary
did
will
Mickey's
talk to you
Big
about
Mouth.
Lone Star.
the
Yeah.
military where they actually pay you to drink.
Yeah, and you're encouraged to.
It's tax free, and so convenient.
Exactly. You just go on to PX anywhere, and
Yep, that and smokes.
Oh, you know?
there you go.
But
Yeah.
no, Gary will talk about Lone Star when he was in Vietnam. That was in cases of it.
Oh, okay.
So apparently that's like a military kind of deal.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I know I drank a crap ton of Budweiser because, of course, it was
Yeah.
there.
Did you
Yeah,
point
yeah.
some of
Mickey's
those
Big Mouth
flavors?
was a military thing. But no matter where you were in the barracks, if somebody popped the Mickey's, you knew it. It was skunky.
Oh,
You can smell that thing 10 blocks away.
I know, right?
interesting. Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember a crap ton of beer. We used to.
Yeah, don't do Mickey's ever.
We'd get leave and go off and rent a Red Roof Inn and get a couple rooms side by side, and take the middle room and fill the bathtub with ice and beer. And we'd just hang out outside, bouncing between them. It was a blur. That's funny, Lone Star. Yeah. Like I said, the name.
Well, man, this took an interesting turn.
It really did, though. It's been kind of fun. Reminiscing
really
over
has.
some of the
It has
absolute
been.
garbage we had back in the day. Look at us, pinkies
Some
up.
of it was just trash. Some of it was just trash. But we weren't smart enough back then to know that.
Or,
We thought like,
or as Jim said, we didn't have the money.
Exactly. we were
Which is
going
a
for
really
quantity,
valid
as much
point.
As you could get for the
Yeah,
$40
that's
you
true.
had in your wallet. Yeah. The $40 you could
And-
pull together with all your buddies.
Mm-hmm.
well, and you know,
Probably
and that's
more
the
the
thing
case.
is, even if you had $40, you do it and you buy for your friends so you can all hang out and have a good time together.
Well, and then when you ran out of
And, you know,
the beverage, then you just ate the fruit.
There you go.
And you start all
Jungle
over
juice.
again.
Yeah, jungle juice. my
Oh, I
God.
feel a headache coming on.
I know, right?
I feel a headache coming on. Dear Lord. On the back of the porch buying a Buick.
Yep.
Oh,
That would
God.
be-
Never
that
happened.
would be it.
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I've heard about that happening. Never experienced it.
So Ron says he sent us
Hawaii.
a picture of the mower in Messenger. So once I get that, we'll put it up.
Fabulous.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that'll have to go up on the webpage.
I think that's going to have to be a thing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
But
like,
no, I mean, honestly, it's nice to know what people are drinking, but like, seriously, if you're doing a mixed drink, send us a picture. Send us a picture of you drinking something. We'll put it on the page. You
Oh.
know, it's not just about we three.
yeah, post it up.
It's about the whole community.
Well, we've talked about doing
We'll
some
post it.
some different ones, like a Scotch sour and some of the other ones
Scotch
as well.
Yeah, Godfather for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those will be in an upcoming actual proper episode, not a bullshit session like this.
Yeah, well, this was a bit of an odd duck.
Yeah, it really was. Well, I mean, it's New Year's Eve. We're kind of trying to cast off 2020 and
This was our way of giving the
Not
finger
good
to
thing.
2020.
pretty much
The
exactly.
thinker or the thinker.
Yeah, we certainly enjoy everybody joining in with us. You know, as we
Yeah.
as we just kind of just took this conversation wherever today. So I appreciate the fortitude for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, here, why don't we wrap it up, guys?
Agreed.
All right. So let us know what you're drinking. Find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube and Instagram. Just type in the Spirited Endeavor. We're everywhere. Let us know what you're drinking, how you're drinking it, or stories that you have. If you got something that you think we should explore, I mean, let us know.
Yeah, share it on the page. Share it on the page. Shoot us a message, whatever.
Give you tasting notes of some of the things that you're drinking that we haven't, or some of the things that we've drank you have. Tasting notes.
Yeah.
Everything helps.
Well, it was
It's always good to have community involved.
It was really interesting to get Ron's take when he tried the Glenmorangie and the Naked Grouse. So that was really cool, I will say.
Yeah.
But anything like that.
Fantastic to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, we're going to change up some formatting here going forward. So look for that. We're going to do more focused whiskey reviews. Each of us are going to bring our own views to the table and post little 5-minute reviews. And of course, the Saturday is going to change. Our Whiskey Wednesdays, we're going to continue to do those, but we're going to try to bring a little more formatting to this. And we've kind of heard the feedback, so to speak.
For the cries of people.
Yeah, so we're going to certainly focus in on being a little more informational.
And I know some people want to see my beautiful face more often, so
Absolutely.
there's that too.
Yeah, and certainly in 2021, we're going to find some distilleries and talk with some other folks outside of this group, and we're really excited to do all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, guys, on that note, I think I will say screw 2020, happy 2021, and best of luck to all of us.
Happy New Year's, everybody.
Happy New Year's, guys.
Happy New Year.
Look forward to talking to you in the new year.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
For sure.
Bye.
Everyone be good.